The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters. Greetings and welcome to the Personal Safety Show. I am Marcus Melnick from Firearm Mentor, your host. As we continue the conversation about police explorers in general, I have met through the years several people who were not in the Skokie Police Department's Explorer program, but were in an Explorer program in a different department, agency, even part of the country. So today I have Jason Hansen with me. Jason was a police explorer and he worked in law enforcement, and his story is an interesting one. Jason, thank you for taking the time to meet with me today.
Thank you very much for having me, Marcus. I appreciate it a whole bunch.
Awesome. Can you explain to our listeners, what is your origin story? What is your background? How did you get involved in explorers and then ultimately transition into a sworn law enforcement position?
When I was in high school, so you took I think it was called the ASVAB test back then. That's been several years ago, maybe like 30 years ago. And it said that I was suited for operating heavy equipment. And I thought, I'm not sure about that. So I did some more kind of research and started looking into law enforcement. One of the things that kind of drove me to that was I always had a respect for the police. And anytime I saw an officer somewhere, I always tried to engage with him. Some would, some won't. And thought, I think I would like to mentor other people when it comes to law enforcement. So that I was projecting what my career was going to be like, right? One of the guys in that I went to high school with knew some people at the police department where I grew up in Westminster, Colorado, and they actually started an Explorer program based on our interest. So we got into the Explorer program, and I absolutely loved it.
Can you explain from your lens, what is the Explorer program? What type of things are you involved in? Community events, training, that type of thing?
It's an opportunity for young people to kind of dip their toe, if you will, into a potential career, whether it's law enforcement, fire. I'm not exactly sure how many different Explorer programs there are across the country as far as what type of careers that you can take a look at. It allows you kind of a hands-on experience with working within a police department. And we were allowed to see how we were still allowed to sit in with dispatchers. Obviously, we got to ride along with the other officers. We got to work in the booking process. And, they tried to keep us kind of second level, if you will, to keep us out of harm. I kind of probably dove in a little further than I should have at times. It was just a way for young people to get some experience in a potential career and see if maybe they were going to like it or not.
Fantastic. Thank you. So I know that there's a financial element to your background, and I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. Can you tell us how you transitioned from explorer to police officer and throw in the financial part of our previous discussion?
After I I aged out of the Explorer program at age 21. I actually put myself, instead of going to college, when I was right before I turned 21, I entered the police academy in South Denver, Colorado, a town called Littleton, and went through the academy there. And back then they called it the COPS test. And then the COPS stands for something else. I can't remember what it was now. It was a written test and a physical agility test. And once you passed that, then they would forward those results to, I believe it was 7 different metro departments in and around Denver. And Westminster was one of them. There was another town called Federal Heights, Colorado, which is a small town that borders Westminster. I ultimately wound up getting a reserve spot in Federal Heights, which is how I started my law enforcement career. And from there, I wound up moving. I'm originally from Kansas, so I wound up moving back to Kansas and working in a town called Great Bend, which is a town of about 15,000, and it was a really fun place to work.
Terrific. So how does the finance figure into this?
When I was 27 years old, my mother passed away. And the day after her funeral, I was traveling from my hometown back to Great Bend, Kansas, and I missed a corner on a back road and had kind of a nasty car accident, and it laid me up for about a year. And at that point, I wasn't able to go back to the street because of some damage that I did to my ankle in that accident. Just one of those fluke things. So from there, I worked in the records department of the police department. I kind of had to figure out how can I give back to my community, because ultimately that was my goal in pursuing a law enforcement career, was to give back to my community. I got involved in some other careers. I actually sold packaged meat off of a truck for a while and kind of tried to figure out what I wanted to do. Well, we'll take a step back to my high school years, my high school and late teens, early 20s years. I had also had an interest in financial services. What I didn't like, kind of the egotism, if you will, the guys that like to use big words and make themselves sound really important. I didn't like that. So fast forward then to this later in my life, I discovered a company that focuses on teaching people about money as opposed to trying to sell them something. What we like to do is we like to teach people, educate them, and then let them make their own decision whether they want to do business with us or not, if what we have to offer is suitable to them.
Okay, so this is just an off-the-wall question. You didn't like ego, yet you went into police work? That's a joke. I'm people who work in law enforcement will get it.
You have a great point.
I'm completely teasing, although there is a lot of ego in public safety. There's a lot of, I'm better than you. I went to a 12-week academy, so I know more than you. It's cultural, and I only say it in jest. So you kind of touched on this. The next question I was going to ask you is, what did exploring teach you about life?
I would say the first thing it taught me was respect. Respect first and foremost. Respect and responsibility. If you say you're going to do something, you do it. And those would be the two biggest things the two biggest takeaways. Compassion for others. Even as an explorer, I saw some difficult situations that people were going through. And so it taught me compassion for others, which I inherited that from my mother, but the Explorer program kind of solidified it for me.
Jason, It's very interesting to hear you say you've learned compassion and respect for others, be a person of your word. And you didn't answer this at the time, but you talked about it before, service to others. As I am interviewing a couple dozen people for this series, it's the same answer every time. You're in a different area of the country that I was in. You grew up in a different area, yet the lessons are the same. What lighthearted, funny stories can you share from being an explorer that would pique someone else's interest in pursuing this?
One night I was riding I kind of picked one of the officers as my mentor there in Westminster. And it was about 3:00 in the morning. I was riding with him. His name was Bob. And another officer found an open door at a church. We were on our way to go help him search the church, make sure nobody was in there. Just their typical open door call, right? And so dispatch is trying to check on the other officer. They're calling him on the radio and he's not answering. Well, we pull into the parking lot and here comes this guy looking like, his arms are spread out. He's walking almost bow-legged. And the closer we get, we realize he's soaking wet. And we're thinking, what in the heck just happened? Come to find out, he had gone into the church to start looking around and had actually fallen into the baptismal pool in the church. So he was soaking wet. He fell in. He was covered head to toe. He was completely submerged in the baptismal pool.
Was he forgiven?
I believe so.
Sorry, that's a little religious twist there. You know how to make holy water, right?
I've never heard.
You boil the Hell out of it.
Oh, wow.
All right, I can't say that word on the radio, but I can spell it.
God. You're on it today, Marcus.
I'm on it every day. I am the dad joke king. All right, very good. As a matter of fact, I have a T-shirt that says Dad Joke Champ, and I have a coffee mug that also says Dad Joke Champ that my family got for me. So it's you're always going to get zingers from me. In any event, we're going to pivot a little bit. Can you tell people about what you're doing today, what your business is all about? And you alluded to that. The company educates other people, but if you can go into more specifics, that would be wonderful.
Midwest Family Financial. What I do is I teach people how to grow and protect money with huge emphasis on protection. We get really, really excited about making or earning money in the stock market, but we get really bummed out when the stock market takes a dive and we lose money. One of the things that the foundation of any sort of a building, whether it's a school or a house or an office building, whatever it is, the foundation of our financial house is actually any protection that we have in place. And if we don't have protection set up properly, the bad winds of the financial world blow, our whole house falls over. So I specialize in teaching people how to protect their financial household. I specialize in helping people get out of debt, or at least getting them on the path. I teach them how to do it. What they do with it is up to them from there. One of the things that I learned from my accident was I didn't have protection properly set up, didn't have protection in place. And, I said I got severely injured, which meant I couldn't work for a year. That meant I didn't have a paycheck for a year. And it completely devastated me financially. That was one of the things that attracted me to the company that I'm with now, which is teaching people how to put protection in place for when those life events happen to us. We never know when it's going to happen, but chances are something, whether it's a critical, chronic or terminal illness, most likely we or somebody we love is going to encounter something like that. Protection is important.
Interesting theme here. You went into law enforcement, and now you're talking about protection. It's a little bit different, but the theme is the same. I sure wish I met you 10 years ago. After a devastating job loss, I was also decimated financially. I ended up being homeless, had to move in with my sister, and she was very kind to rent me out her basement, but I really had very little income until I got back on my feet until today. So, life is a roller coaster. It goes up and down. And what I really like what you said was, quote, what I learned from my accident. So often people go through life and they don't learn from their mistakes, or they don't even know they're making a mistake. And not that you made a mistake, but there's a better way to plan for disasters, as you are talking about. If somebody wanted to contact you or learn more, can you share your contact information, your website, any other places where people can go and conduct their own research?
My website is www.livingbenefitsexperts.com/Midwest Family Financial. I'll say that again.
Good.
www.livingbenefitsexperts.com/Midwest Family Financial.
Very good. And if they wanted to reach out to you directly, what's the best way for someone to get a hold of you?
Best way to get a hold of me is my phone number, which is 308-520-8459.
What final thoughts can you share with the listeners who may be parents who have their children wanting to be involved in the program?
If a child wants to get involved, I would strongly encourage you to allow that. It was certainly a great experience for me, and it helped steer me into my career. Here's the other thing. If somebody gets involved in an Explorer program, whether it's police, fire, whatever, if they might get involved in an Explorer program and say, I don't think that's for me. I would rather have them find that out, before they get into the career, as opposed to get into the career and say, spend 2 or 3 years in a career that they don't like before they have to make a change. But getting them the exposure to what the career is all about before they actually commit to it is a huge advantage when it comes to getting somebody's start in life.
Terrific. I'm going to go off script, and I'm going to discuss with you one other point that, as I was laying in bed last night, I kind of thought about, and that is, as parents, we teach our children respect, dignity, compassion, but sometimes, and I want you to chime in on this, sometimes that lesson has to come from non-parental sources. And at least for me and for a lot of the people I'm talking to, that non-parental source is the Explorer program. Would you agree or disagree?
I would 100% agree. I'll tell you a little story. I'll be vulnerable here. I'll tell you, I actually disrespected one of the officers one time. I didn't realize I was doing it. And he pulled me aside and shared with me that what I was doing was disrespectful and I probably shouldn't have done it. It taught me a lesson. Like you said, if we can learn from our mistakes, I'll tell you, going back to my accident, really quick, I kicked myself for a long time. I was angry for several years after that accident. I was angry at myself. Today, I look back and I realized that was the biggest blessing of my life ever. I wouldn't be where I am today if that wouldn't have happened.
There's a song out there, and it's called, I don't know the title, but the chorus is Thank God for Unanswered Prayers.
Tim McGraw?
Could be. It's been done by several artists. Thank you very much for your time today. I greatly appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what happened, but the end of the clip actually got cut short, but Jason does extend his well wishes to all of the listeners. I'd like to do a little bit of explanation out there. There's a ton of firearm enthusiasts and groups that they're involved in. One of those groups that I'm involved in, I'm one of the executives for, is called IGOT, which stands for Illinois Gun Owners Together. And this is a group of like-minded individuals. We've done community outreach. We've spoken at different events. We, at one time, had a table at a vendor show at Buffalo Grove Days, and we do some fun and interesting activities. The next one is going to be Saturday, August 26th, 2023, beginning at 10 a.m. And this is going to be an IGOT Shoot at the Pit. This is going to be at the Buffalo Range in Ottawa, Illinois. If you would like an invitation to it, please reach out to me at firearmmentorcard.com. I can send you the details via email, via social media, etc. And basically, it looks like a quarry. It's this huge pit that people bring all sorts of junk to shoot at. They bring flat screen TVs, old computers, monitors. One of the great things I brought with once was a deflated basketball. So it was orange. You could see it from far away. You'd shoot it. It would roll a little bit. You'd shoot it again. It would roll a little bit. And my kids couldn't use it. You can wear your IGOT t-shirt. If you'd like an IGOT t-shirt, please reach out to me. Again, firearmmentorcard.com, and I can put you in touch with the correct people. There's going to be full auto rentals, and you can bring whatever firearm you want. Buffalo Range actually opens at 9 a.m., but the event starts at 10 a.m. Because parking is a little bit limited where the pit is, I would highly recommend arriving on the early side. All-day admission for adults and older is $30, 17 and under is $15, and veterans is $25. A portion will go to the current lawsuits that are fighting the assault weapons ban, among other little things in the law with the major lawsuits that are going on. You can bring friends and family. Minors and new shooters will be supervised by the more experienced shooters, and if you bring someone, please look after them. The range safety officers will be there as well. Sometimes range safety officers aren't very nice in their approach because they deal with people who are less than safe all day long, every day for long periods of time. You do not need to be a member of IGOT. The great thing is IGOT membership is free. If you're interested, again, reach out to me. I can send you a Facebook link so you can join the group. You do not need a FOID card for your guests. You need a FOID card. Everyone has to sign their waiver. If you're a new shooter and you have a question, please don't hesitate to ask. I plan on being there. If you see me, please come up to me, introduce yourself. I don't know who's the listeners because I don't see your faces, as this is radio, and I have a great face for radio. Again, that was a joke. But there'll be other instructor types like me who be happy to help you, be happy to instruct. So the different ranges at Buffalo Shooting Park are what I just described, which is called the pit. Then there's pistol ranges up to 20 yards, which is 60 feet. They have rifle ranges at 25, 50, and 100 yards. They have a trap range, so if you're a shotgun shooter, you can do that. And then they have a double deuce 22 plinking range with spinners. I have not done that yet, but that sounds like a lot of fun. You could bring most of your personal firearms, but not anything chambered in 50 BMG. Also, since nothing needs to really be registered until January 1st, 2024, you should be good with your semi-autos, but we'll be taking bets on the compliance rate for Illinois registration. That's kind of a joke. Bring your own ammo. Brass, including green tips, aluminum, steel, all okay. The ammo is going into the ground. It is not destroying a backstop. And they will have ammo for sale. You are best off, and if you're looking at the YouTube video, I will provide a link on where I get ammo in the description. My YouTube channel can be found if you search Firearm Mentor on YouTube. So they do have ammo. They do have rentals if you want to try something new. We will have full auto there. There's going to be a handful of firearms to choose from. There won't be a rental charge for these firearms, but you can rent the loaded magazines to be fired down at the pit as usual. They do have what I call a hot dog stand. They got like burgers, hot dogs, brats, refreshments. It's a little shack. It's a concession stand. You're welcome to bring your own food, coolers, grills. Don't bring alcohol. Don't bring cannabis. Let's be smart about stuff. Not that anyone ever has that I've seen. The shack is a little bit pricey, but it's very convenient and the food is decent. We're going to have IGOT shirts for sale at the event. If you'd like to donate more to either IGOT or the lawsuits, we'd love to add that to our fundraising as well. The total monies collected that day will be donated to the Second Amendment Law Center on behalf of IGOT and its members. They're at the tip of the spear in our fight, and be sure to bring plenty of sunscreen and bug spray, and we'll see you at the pit. The shooting park is in Ottawa, Illinois. It is a lot of fun. It's kind of a little bit far from the Chicago area, but that's okay. If it's a beautiful day, it's right next to Starved Rock, or within driving distance of Starved Rock State Park. That might be a neat little side trip for you and your family members if you're interested. It is open all year. It's $30 admission. We just talked about that. It is very family friendly. In past years at IGOT events there, we have had a Civil War cannon that you could pay to shoot, to fire, which was extremely loud and extremely fun. I did not do that. I've done machine gun rentals with my son where we shot an MP5. He didn't like that one because he's left-handed and the only place that the brass ejects is to the right, so it kept flying in front of his face, said it was distracting. He loved the P90, which is, if you ever watched the TV show Stargate, that was their weapon of choice, at least after the first season. It is a 5.7 caliber, and the brass ejects from the bottom. So, for a left-hand shooter, truly ambidextrous. When I was there last with the machine gun rentals, you could rent a belt-fed gun. There were 22s. I believe there was a Ruger 1022 that you can rent, M4s, a lot of other full auto items, a lot of fun. I hope to see you guys there. And once again, if you would like an invitation into the I Got group, please reach out to me through my electronic business card, which can be found at www.firearmmentorcard.com. We have classes every month. Our next one is going to be the weekend of August 12th and the 13th. If you're interested, again, reach out to me through that website and I can give you the registration details. I hope you're enjoying the summer, and as always, stay safe.
We have monthly concealed carry license CCL classes in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. Dates can be seen at firearmmentor.com/classes. If you have a question, we can be reached at www.firearmmentorcard.com. That is our electronic business card, has all of our contact information and links in it. It's the easiest way to get a hold of us. Until next time, stay safe out there, and I'll see you at the shooting range. This is Marcus Melnick from Firearm Mentor signing off. The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters.